Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lost Love Stories, where we just really have great conversations about what happens when we lose the people we love and our growth and journey back to joy. And I'm really excited today to have my new friend, Monika Meacham, joining us with her story of with her husband, Gabe. She's got a really interesting perspective that I hadn't heard before. And as it relates to getting back into the work world, and really, I think, really important conversation to have because, it's just another way that widows sort of get brushed off to the side and it's total bullshit. So I am really excited for you to be here, Monika, and share your story and just welcome. So come on and, just jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you met Gabe and your origin story of your love story.
Yeah. So, Monica again, and I have 2.5 kids with Gabe. I jokingly say 2.5. When I met him, he actually had a son who was 4 years old at the time of us meeting. So he's my quote unquote point five. And then we also have together now a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah. And so we talked about that. I want to get into that too, because I love when we talked the other day about your relationship with your stepson. It's very sweet and very special. And I love that. And because that's another whole dynamic we could get into, right? On how, when the biological parent passes, what that does to the step parent and that potential relationship. So I love that too. So we'll have to remember to circle back. But tell me, how did you guys meet?
yeah. So, I was 32 at the time, so a little bit quote unquote older, and especially given my background, I'm Indian. Both of my parents are from India, so I was like an old lady hag who wasn't married yet, right?
Uh-huh.
But I met him at 32, and how I met him was actually through my best friend. My best friend called me up and said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to somebody." She had been dating somebody for about a year, pretty serious at that point. And she's like, "He's got a friend that I've met, and they've been in and out of their friendship. Like they hadn't talked to each other for a while, but he just came back in." And she's like, "But I want to warn you that he is recently divorced or recently separated. He wasn't divorced yet. He was recently separated, and he had a kid." And again, I mentioned I'm Indian, right? So I was a little concerned because coming from a culture where your parents are very like, first marriage, divorce is bad, right? Like anybody that has kids, I was a little concerned about, well, I don't know how my parents are gonna, because I very much, not that I want to find somebody that my parents approve, but I don't want it to be a relationship that they can't get along with them either, right? I mean, your family is so important in all of that. Especially to ever have a fruitful long-term marriage, right? You have to have all that going on, right? So I was a little concerned, but I was like, okay, I'll give it a chance. You never know. I can't say no. And then
Was
if
he
there's
Indian as
something
well?
there, huh?
Was he Indian as well?
No, he wasn't. That was the
Ooh,
other big point, right? He
right.
wasn't Indian. He
Mhm.
was he was separated, so previously married
Yeah.
with a child. So I
Oh,
was
God.
thinking, oh my God, this is the trifecta of,
Yeah.
no, they are not going to be okay with
Yeah.
this. But again, given that it was my best friend and I really trusted who she was, and she knows the type of personality I like and all that, I said, okay, well, I'll give it a chance and I'll at least meet him and we'll see what happens. So she set up a meeting for all of us to go to. It was actually at his house,
Hmm.
because he had a son, and he always had a son every weekend. And later on I'll talk about his relationship with his child, where it's really part of what I fell in love with him was how much he was just there for his
Hmm.
children. And very like, you're not in front of my kid. My kid is number one, and I
Oh, wow.
respect that a lot.
Yeah.
But anyways, we went to his cabin. His son was already asleep. He made dinner, and he was in a cabin in Dahlonega at the time, so kind of secluded and all that. And, at first it was all four of us hanging out and talking. And then at some point we were talking outside, and my friend and her now husband, because they're married, which, by the way, interesting thing is her husband is was best friends with my husband.
Oh,
So they
wow.
went to high school together. They were the longest friends. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of history between the two of them, that even though they went in and out of like seeing each other, or keeping in contact, they still would consider each other their best friend,
Wow.
overall, just because of, they've known each other for so long,
Yeah.
right? But they went inside, and me and Gabe kind of stayed outside and stayed on the deck and just talked for the longest time, for hours. And
Wow.
yeah, it was it. And part of what I jokingly say, that I knew that he was in it for me, was definitely was because I literally had a conversation with him. Probably an hour of that conversation was around Halloween.
Oh,
I've got a really weird infatuation with Halloween. I like go all out, balls out with
love.
with
Hmm.
Halloween now, especially now,
Yeah.
as I've gotten older and have a little bit more money to play with
Yeah.
than before.
Love that.
But I had just purchased a Halloween village. So those Christmas villages. There's a
Yes.
Halloween version of it, and it
Okay.
was way too expensive and way too much money anybody should ever spend on anything. And I think I was having a little bit of buyer's remorse as I was
Uh-huh.
talking to him, because I literally just bought it.
Oh
But
my
the
God.
fact is that he still sat there and entertained my weirdness and
Yeah.
just all of who I am, because I am a very eccentric individual. A lot of, I don't know, I don't want to say over the top personality, but I'm a lot
You
sometimes,
have a
right?
big personality, which I appreciate. I get accused of that as well. And
So,
I love a big personality. So,
it's
yeah.
good. I mean, it keeps you going. It keeps
Mhm.
life happy.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, but we talked for a really long time, and it was great. And he got my number afterwards, and he said, "Can I call you?" And I said, "Yeah, sure."
Hmm.
So he called me a few days later and said, "Hey, you want to go out?" And for about 3 months, every time he called me, I said I was washing my hair.
What?
Here's the thing. He had just gotten out of a relationship,
Yeah.
right? I had never been married. I had been dating for a very long time, and
Mhm.
he literally just got out of
Yeah.
separated. Now I could tell from what he was talking about that, it was over, right? Because he was very clear and he was very open that his wife, his at the time, she didn't want to continue it, and who is he to force anything? And at that point, when she said it was done, he in his mind also said, "Okay, I guess it's
Yeah.
done." He wouldn't have been done if she didn't say it. And I will be frank that he was always very honest with me about
Mhm.
that. Now, granted, since then things changed, and
Yeah.
obviously he was very happy for the change. But at the time, it was what he was facing, right?
Mhm.
And he was with her for many years. He got with her when he was 19 years old. He had never had a relation, like he'd never gone and sowed his wild oats
Oh,
or whatnot,
wow.
right? Like I've had 15 years of having a lot of fun,
Yeah.
or 10 years, right, of just dating and seeing different things and knowing what's out there and knowing what I wanted and knowing what I didn't want. While him, I felt like he necessarily didn't.
Yeah, well,
And
that makes sense too because you don't want to be it's not like I can just see I'm just putting myself in your position with, you know, if he would have chosen to stay in that relationship, that's, his heart's not like, oh, I'm done with her, you know. Also, you don't want to be the rebound
the
girl.
rebound, yeah.
That's the bigger thing, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. So very smart to be
Yeah,
watching.
he actually later on he said, I mean, that I probably am the smartest person he's ever met for
Mhm.
doing that,
Yeah,
because it
absolutely.
allowed him time to date a
Mhm.
few people. And
Oh,
I
wow.
knew I'd always have the connection to him
Mhm.
because of my friends, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's his best friend that was dating my best
yeah,
friend at the time. So I knew that the connection was there, but at the same point, I was like, I don't want to be the rebound. I like him, and I could get
yeah,
really hurt by him, and I don't,
totally.
like, I get along with him. We
Yeah,
talk really well, and that's, number one for me has always been finding somebody that could be my friend as well,
yeah.
right? Like, I don't want to just be married to somebody. I want to be married to my best friend.
Mhm.
So, He tried on and off for a few months to call me, and I did quote unquote blow him off by saying I was washing my hair because it would always be on a Sunday, and I had a good excuse behind it. My hair takes a long time to do, especially back then because we didn't have like the Dyson hair things and
Right.
some of
Yeah.
the fast drying things. It literally took me, not kidding, 2 hours to dry my hair straight and do it because it's very frizzy
Wow.
and all
Yeah.
that. But I took my time. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. It still took it
Right.
took a long time. Um, anyways, he dated a couple folks in the interim. One of which he dated for a couple months, and again, because I have that connection, I asked my friend, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, is he
What's
dating
happening?
somebody?" And
Yeah.
she told me, and she met her, and this and that. And for a minute, I was like, "Oh, maybe I screwed up because
Yeah.
they've been dating for a few months now, and he stopped calling me, which is fine, but whatever, right? Like maybe I screwed up."
Mm-hmm.
But then a couple months later goes by, and it was so I met him in October, beginning of October. That's when we had our first conversation. Then February rolls around, Super Bowl time,
Mm-hmm.
and my friend was hosting a Super Bowl party,
Okay.
and I was supposed to go, and she knew I was supposed to go, but last minute I canceled
Oh.
because I don't remember why, but whatever, right? And I canceled last minute, and he messaged me halfway between, and he's like, "I thought you were going to be here, and I would get a chance to see you again." He had
Okay.
recently, not recently, but I think like a few weeks or a month
Okay.
earlier, broken up with that girl that he dated for 3 months. He dated a couple people before that as well. And I knew that again because of the contact, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he convinced me. He's like, "Look, I know you're skeptical. Can we just like go to dinner as friends and
Okay.
just hang out and just let's go there and just
Mm-hmm.
let's just do something. We both get along pretty well. Doesn't no strings attached." And I said,
Yeah.
"Okay, fine. Let's you've been coming back every so often, so yeah, sure, let's go."
Yeah.
So we went to dinner, and it was great. I mean, again, it was fluid conversation you could have with somebody you thought you knew your whole life, right?
Yeah, that's awesome
Yeah,
and very
absolutely.
rare.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, and again, I threw out a little bit of the cray cray because I like to test.
Got
And at
the
the
worst.
end, I started talking about how aliens told me I could throw vehicles or something like.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I just made up something
Yeah.
stupid.
Oh my God.
But just again, just to see, like, is he willing to play with, like, is this something that he can handle, or is this not? Because again, I'm pretty.
Yeah.
So I was sitting there telling him, like I talk to aliens, and yeah, I can do this stuff, but not in front of you because it's only powers I can do when nobody's around, or something silly, right? But he played along with it just so well, right? Like he had fun with it, and
Mm.
he enjoyed the
Mhm.
back and forth banter,
Yeah.
and he we that night I nothing major, but we kissed, and
Oh,
and and
okay.
and that's when I realized, okay, he could be something
Yeah.
more, and I
Yeah.
let him sow his wild oats, and one
Yeah.
of the girls that he dated was a little bit more crazy than I am, and
It made you look
so
better.
so maybe I look like a fresh of breath air, I don't know.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, but we dated, and we started dating. Later that year, my best friend and her husband now got
Mhm.
married. So
Okay.
we went to their wedding. I was one of her bridesmaids. He was his maid of his groom,
Oh,
his
that's
actually what's it called,
yes,
best
ma'am.
man.
Mhm. Yep.
And we went on. We did actually before that. Sorry, before the wedding was the we did it was a bachelor and bachelorette trip that was apart but together. It was really cool.
Interesting.
They did a
Uh-huh.
cruise. So the boys
Okay.
went on one cruise, the girls went on one cruise, and one day we met in Atlantis for one
That's
afternoon.
cool.
And it was really cool. So, I got to see him a little bit there on vacation, right? And, as things grew. And then, a couple months later is when they got married. And, I did catch her bouquet. So,
Stop it.
it was
Oh
kind
my
of
God.
cute, right? Like, and I didn't do it on purpose. It just literally, there's several
Landed
women
in your
and
hand.
just it happened.
That's awesome.
Um, I didn't fight anybody down for it. It just happened, right?
Oh, hair, wrestle.
He didn't catch the other one, but that's okay.
Okay.
um, but yeah, and we just continued the relationship. He knew right away that I was very vocal of, look, I'm 32 years old. I want children. You have a child. I want a child. I want
Yeah.
children. So if you want to be with me, that's what you are signing up for.
Yeah.
Is that you're not going to be dating me for years upon years upon years. It's going to be you decide if I'm the right person or not relatively quickly, and then we move forward or we don't. I just don't want to play any games, right? Like I was very vocal about that. So the whole time, we dated, he very much made me feel like I was the one for him. He was, except for when his son was around, right? Again, going back to his son was always number one, which is, again, I loved that, right?
Yeah.
Like I would try one time here or there just to see, and he
Mhm.
very well put me in the sense of no, my son's number one, and I
Yeah.
loved that.
Yeah.
Because you don't see a lot of men do that,
No.
right? You
No,
don't
that's
see
good
them
dad
come and
material.
take care
Hmm.
of their kids and make sure that they're every single
Hmm.
weekend, and they don't even miss a weekend just because their
Hmm.
girlfriend says, "Hey, I want to hang out with just you." No, that didn't happen. It
Yeah.
was, we are hanging out with my son because that's how it's going to work. Because he lived about 45 minutes away. He lived up in Dawsonville. I'm in Roswell, right?
Okay.
So weekdays I worked a lot. He had a business. It was a little bit harder to see each other on the weekdays. We did, but not as often as we could on the weekends. Weekends
Right.
were really where we could really spend some time together. So I got to know his son really well, and that was great and stuff. And a year later, we got engaged. And again, it was, I'm not going to say that I twisted his arm, but I very
Yeah.
made it clear that, there's a time clock, right? Like,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
do want kids, and he knew that. So we got engaged, and then a year later we got married. So we
Okay.
dated for 2 years in
Okay.
totality. Still decent, right? But
Yeah.
at the same point,
Hmm.
good. Still at the same point being able to understand who each other was, and
Yeah.
became very good best friends and all that. And he moved in with me a little bit earlier. Of course, my parents would hate that I said that, but
Yeah.
the Indian mentality again, right?
Right.
The
Hmm.
that, and then going back to the Indian mentality, when I started dating him seriously, and I started realizing, oh, there could be something here. I
Hmm.
actually talked to my father and said, look, here's the deal. And going back to, at 32, they consider you like done. He was like, oh, you're so old anyways, it doesn't matter. You can't
Oh
be
my.
greedy.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll take that, right? If you want to put
That's
it in the
good.
not greedy
Yeah.
aspect, good. I'm just thinking of it more on, he's an amazing person.
Yeah.
You're thinking of it more on your
They're
greedy,
like,
but
thank God
whatever.
somebody's taking her. That's
Right.
hilarious.
So yeah, we got married in July 5th of 2015.
Okay.
No, 2014. Sorry, 2014.
Mhm.
And it was always the joke of the day after 4th of July, he lost his
Oh
independence
yeah.
again, right? So,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, that's how we met, and I guess when we got married.
I love that. That's a great story. That's a great story. And then, how long until the babies came?
The babies came pretty quick.
Yeah.
We got married in July of 2014, and my first son was born in October of 2015.
Okay.
So 6, 7 months,
Mhm.
and also I never honestly thought I was going to be able to get pregnant without
Oh
help.
wow.
I have medical issues that, like,
Mhm.
it's called PCOS, right? So a lot of women, some women have
Mhm.
it. But I was always told that I was gonna need help.
Mhm.
But I didn't. So
Wow.
there you go.
Yay. Yay. That's awesome. Okay, good. And
Yeah.
then how did his son, what is his son's name?
His son's name is Logan.
Logan. How was
Yes.
Logan being the big brother?
Loved it. He wanted it. He asked for
Mhm.
it,
Oh,
right?
you did.
So he
Awesome.
did. Yeah, when we got married, about a month or two afterwards,
Mhm.
we were in the car or something driving. Yeah, we were in the car. It was weird because it was out of nowhere. And he's like, I won't be offended if you guys have a kid or bring me a brother or sister. He's like,
Oh,
I really would love it.
oh
And
my
we're
God.
like, okay, great.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, Logan has been an absolutely incredible brother, absolutely incredible. He's always there for both of them, all the time, and he's very caring and just stand up kid
Yeah.
overall, very stand up
Aw,
kid. Yeah.
that's awesome. And then just cool because, I mean, you knew him from such a young age. It's not, just it's easier, I think, when they know you from such a young age than having somebody who's a little older and like, who are you coming into my life, lady?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that's
and we made it kind of make him feel that he got to help make that decision in a way, right?
Mhm.
Like, because again, he's the one that came to us saying,
Yeah,
I want a sibling, right? And
yeah,
we kind of opened the door of having those conversations with him of, maybe someday we might have kids, but we want to wait till you're comfortable. I mean, we weren't quote
mhm,
unquote waiting, but
right.
we wanted him to feel like he was part of a lot of what we were trying to grow, right?
Yeah,
And we didn't want him to feel separated from it at all.
I love that. That's really smart, actually. That's really smart. I love that. Such a really, it sounds weird, but like an inclusive way to manage the whole thing. It's not like you're a kid, you don't have a say. It's hugely impacts their life too. So that's really cool. I
Absolutely.
love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so let's talk about the I don't want to say I hate it's not the end of the love story because the love story lasts forever. But
Yeah. Well,
walk.
well,
Mhm.
one thing before the end, I forgot to mention
Yeah.
is the day after, or sorry, a week before we got married.
Hmm.
Um, I actually ended up leaving the business that I was working with
Uh-huh.
to join his company.
Okay.
So not only were we getting married, but we were going into business
Oh wow.
together basically right away.
Wow.
Yeah,
And that
that's a very interesting thing,
that can
especially
make or
coming.
break for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because he already had a business. He was running a website design firm, but what he could do was a lot more. He could design
Mhm.
software,
Wow.
and I'm a data analyst, RevOps now, but. I understand how data needs to work together. So I'm a data architect in a way, right?
Uh-huh.
And he could see that, and he's like, "Well, what if we marry somebody like you with somebody like me to create true systems, where they people could really understand what they're trying to do." So that's also a big thing to note is that not only we were married, we actually ran a
Yeah.
business together for over 5 years or
Wow.
almost 5 years at the front of our marriage.
Wow. That's actually really cool to think about how so aligned what you were doing are complementary what you guys were doing with your business too. That's very cool. And so how did that all work? Everything as far as working together, living together, married together, like all of the things.
Hard. It wasn't easy at first. It was if you can manage figuring out how to work with your husband as well
Hmm.
as manage them, pseudo manage them, because
Yeah.
that's what I basically was doing. Like, even though his title was CEO, I was over the business. I was over how it
Right.
ran. I was over the people that came in because I'm the finance expert, right? I
Hmm.
was I had a lot more background there than he did. Yes, he had the background in doing what he did, but he didn't have the background in running a business.
Right.
And so that's when he's like, "You're the business person." I said, "If I'm the business person, that means I'm telling you what to do."
Yeah.
Right? Like, are we okay with that? Right? So it was a struggle for about 6 months. And it was a struggle because his biggest contract he had that really helped that business run died about 2 months after we got married.
Wow.
So that didn't help, right? Now all of a sudden we've lost the biggest contract that really helped get that business, kept the business afloat because we
Hmm.
were hoping that it was a growth stage,
Yeah.
not keeping it afloat, right? And then now all of a sudden we're down
Oh
and we're
God.
figuring out how to keep something afloat where we have a
Mhm.
couple employees and now the biggest contract's gone and that biggest contract actually took one of our good employees.
Oh God. Oh my God. Yeah. So talk about adding stress and financial all to the whole.
Financial, all of that, right? I quit my job. I did all this stuff. I was worried because I was on a good trajectory career wise of, oh God, if I all of a sudden am not doing this, that's going to look horrible on my resume, right? Like, I had made strides career wise myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was scary for sure.
Yeah.
And it was hard at first because it was like, how do you tell your husband what to do in a work
Yeah.
environment and then break that apart in a personal environment, right? How do you
Right.
make
How do
sure
you
he
not carry
understands?
all of that home?
Yeah,
Mm.
because his mentality on business, there was definitely core things that had to be shifted. Like he did not have a customer first mentality. You got to have that
Mhm.
in most businesses,
Yeah.
right? Like there was a lot of fundamental things that I had to help him understand that you have to shift it. If you want to be a business owner, you can't run under that model. You have to
Yeah.
run under something a little bit different. Don't let people take advantage of you, but at the same point, your customer is very important.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got to, there's the things like that you've got to be in play for.
Wow. Wow.
So, and
That's,
and to boot, his brother worked for us, and
oh
while I
my
love his brother to death,
God.
there's always a form of right, like.
Yeah. Again, who is this lady coming in and telling us what to do? Oh my God. That's a lot. Wow.
Yeah, but I'd say about after, I want to say it was about 8 to 10 months. We moved out of the location we were in. We went into another location. I took on a big loan because
Hmm.
I really believed in trying to figure out how we could super expand the business.
Yeah.
And we brought on a bunch of employees and things like that. When we shifted over to the new facility and he saw all that, that's really where our dynamic really changed for the better, right? Like at first there was a few butting of heads, right? I'm a very strong, independent a person and a very vocal individual, especially when it comes to business.
Yeah.
And it's his baby,
Yeah.
right? So, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting here
Yeah.
going, rip it up, right?
Mhm.
Like, no,
Right.
not rip it up, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for him, he's seeing it in that lens. And so
Totally.
that's where I had to figure out, okay, wait a minute. I got to figure out how to work with him right so he understands what I'm doing is for the betterment of the business, not the worst,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that it was like a ton of like reflective conversations in your own mind on how to deliver in the best, most productive way.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, which teaches you a lot about the art of conversation, right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's
we actually ran a radio show together there. It was probably one of the
oh,
funnest things we did together
really,
was
that's
we did a
really
radio show
cool.
because me and him could talk well. Sometimes people would think we're fighting, but we were never ever fighting.
Hmm.
It was debate, right? Like we
Hmm.
always had great debate together and very respectful debate,
Uh-huh.
right? And it was never anything else but that. So
That's cool. So what was the
that's
radio show about?
it was a business show because we were entrepreneurs. So it was bringing on other entrepreneurs and talking about how to start up a business, the ins and
Mhm.
outs of things that you face, challenges, stuff like that. So it
Oh,
was on
wow,
an
that's
AM
awesome.
radio show. We went down to the radio station once a week and
That's
recorded, and it was a lot of fun. For
That's
sure.
really cool. I love that. That's
Yeah.
so fun. And do you have, and I think about this because my husband was very much into all that kind of stuff too, public speaking and all the radio spots, and I have like so much footage of him that do you have access to the recordings of those?
We've got some. Honestly, I haven't. Most of it he saved. Most of it he had on his stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I'll be honest, I just haven't brought myself to
Yeah.
go and find it yet,
Yeah.
just because of right the memories and
Mhm.
everything, and
Yeah, it's hard.
just what it does. Right, I choose the battles I walk into every day that keep me level-headed and sane,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I choose the one to not. That someday I'll get there, and I
You
know it's not
will.
going to go anywhere. They're
Right.
all on the cloud somewhere, and they're
Somewhere.
not in things that I know will dissipate.
Yeah.
So it's just I just got to get up one day and just be like, okay, I'm ready now to
Yeah.
really go and bring it all in. And I think I've had a couple friends do it for me
Mhm.
also. It's just me going out there and just
Yeah.
making sure where it all
Totally.
is.
Yeah. I get that completely. Just with all the stuff that John and I recorded together. I don't know if I told you this, but we did a whole when he was diagnosed with his brain cancer. Instead of doing a caring bridge, we did. I created a Facebook like a Facebook page that I called Coffee, Cancer, and Cocktails, and it was like how we updated everybody. that anytime anything happened, his whole entire journey for 3 years, we would go live on Facebook and just do it together. We were almost always together. And it was real raw, real authentic. Like
Wow.
sometimes we were fighting, sometimes we were crying, sometimes we were like celebrating because he got a good scan or whatever it was. It's all there. So I have like 60 videos of us together that
Mhm.
I've now put on YouTube and just as a place to store them. But I don't watch them. I don't watch them because it's too hard. But I'm glad they're there. But yeah, going to revisit it is hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
especially watching the progression of his disease is not
Oh,
it's very hard. All right, so fast forward to what happened.
yeah. So on the morning of my 11-year anniversary, July 5th of last year, 2025, 6:30 in the morning, my son came running upstairs saying, call the ambulance. Dad's saying, call an ambulance. Dad's saying, call him an ambulance. I run downstairs and I find him, and he's saying he can't breathe. And he's had a few spouts of this before where he can't breathe. But I couldn't find his inhaler, so right away I just said, okay, I'm gonna call the ambulance. So we called the ambulance, and then as the minutes progressed, you just could see it wasn't just a normal not breathing like a episode. It was something far more, you know, hearing some of the words that came out of his mouth, the last words, hardest thing, hard to repeat, but hardest thing to ever hear. But essentially, because my kids were young, I sent them outside. I said, your responsibility is to flag down the ambulance. What else, you know what I mean? What else can I do?
Yeah,
They're 10 and 8. I can't have them hear what was happening and hear all that
watch it, have
and
that
take that.
either. Mm,
Right.
yeah.
His oldest son was home, and when I was on the phone with the ambulance, they wanted me to try to figure out how to lay him down. And my husband's was a very big man, right? So I couldn't do it by myself. My father-in-law lives with us. My husband's stepfather lives with us, and unfortunately he has Parkinson's, so he doesn't have the strength. So I was basically faced with the decision of, do I just let it be like this, or do I call his son, who was 18, and make him come and help me? And obviously I called his son. I didn't want to, just because I didn't want him to, because I didn't know what was happening, and nobody wants to see their father that way, right? Like, that's not the last. I didn't even think it was last, but you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, just all of it. It was
Have
a
any
lot.
of that visual. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot for any child to ever. Yeah, he's 18, but still, he's a child, right? It's
Yeah.
just so hard for any kid to ever have to do that. But I had no choice, and so I called him down and I said, "Come help." And he came and he tried. He tried as well, but he also couldn't. And the room that my husband was in was a very small room that we didn't have a lot of leverage. So he just held him up instead, so he wouldn't fall over. So he held him up until the ambulance got there, and then the paramedics came in, and they were able to bring him out of the room and lay him down. He was breathing, and he was still breathing. But from what I understand, he arrested in the house. They brought him back, and then they took him into the ambulance where they told me to meet me at the hospital. And at that point, I thought everything was okay, right? Like,
Yeah.
he may be arrested, but they brought him back so quick. I was there. It wasn't like 5 minutes. It wasn't anything crazy. Okay, I'll see him at the hospital. He'll be fine. We'll figure this out. We'll figure out what happened. Obviously something happened with his heart, right? Obviously it was a heart issue. He did have COPD, by the way.
Okay.
But never anything that we thought would take him. Or
Right.
I didn't. I didn't. He did. I didn't. And I went to the hospital, and they pulled me back into the room. Before they pulled me in, they said that he arrested again in the ambulance, And it was a struggle to bring him back, but they did bring him back.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went into the room to see him, there's five things that I unfortunately had to learn this a little over a year earlier. My father had basically brain dead.
Mm-hmm.
There's 5 signals or 5 things that they look for to see if there's brain activity. One of which, the biggest one, is the pupils dilating. And after they had told me they had a struggle in the ambulance, and then when I went in the room to watch them doing the 5 tests, because again, I knew what they were doing because I've seen it before. I watched their eyes. His eyes didn't dilate once. And that's your biggest indicator in that world, right? Like in the brain world is the eyes. And his eyes didn't dilate, and they handed me his ring. They didn't say anything yet, but they just said, we have to take this off for now. Hold on to it. Hasn't left my side since. But yeah, as the day progressed, I mean, again, this was 7:30 in the morning at this point, or 8, maybe 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
As the day progressed and as we watched, I mean, you always have hope, but there's also a sense of reality that you have to have when you have children.
Yeah.
That you
Well,
have to
and I'm sure
compartmentalize.
you just had gone through it with your own
I
dad.
had just gone through it with my dad.
So it was like fresh, really.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, my dad didn't have a heart attack. My dad ended up having a brain event. We thought he fell and hurt himself, and then that's how it caused it, but it turned out he had a brain event. But you learn so much from watching somebody sit in a hospital for 4 days
Yeah.
and understanding what the brain does and the MRI and why you take the MRI and when you take it and all that stuff. And because I had seen all that, really it did, this is my dad's chain right here.
Wow.
This is my husband's ring. And I always say that this is my strength and this is my love, right? Like, my father gave me the strength in a very weird way because he prepped me.
Yeah.
He prepped me in so many ways that not even just by him going.
Yeah.
He had told me always when I was younger that I had to be on my own and I had to be able to take care of myself. Because if I ever married somebody that would, and you had kids,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to have them suffer. So I've always been very career-minded because of that, because he put that in my head. Thank God he did, because I don't know how some women could do it otherwise that don't have that, right? Like if they didn't have a career or something.
Brilliant of your dad, because people don't talk about this, which is insane, but most women become widows. They do. They do. So that's very forward thinking of your father. That's amazing.
Especially an Indian father, because in India, when you're a widow, your life's over. Like
Yeah.
that is how they view culturally. Maybe not as much anymore, but I mean, his generation most definitely
Yeah.
views it that way. Your life's over.
Yeah. It's amazing that
but
he did that. I also think I didn't know that was your dad's chain. I saw, I've obviously seen you in person, so we haven't talked about it, but I assumed that was your husband's ring. And I love that you said the strength and the love. And if people are listening to this, they won't have seen it, but if they're watching it on YouTube, as soon as you started talking about that last day, you went and you held on to that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it was immediate. You I don't know if you even recognize that you're doing it, but I saw it. You're holding on to the strength and the love of both of those important men in your life. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So yeah, I mean, that day progressed pretty hard. Every test showed just nothing good.
Yeah.
That night, my stepson, who's 18 again, I talked to his mother first because I wanted to make sure she was. And by the way, let me tell you, an amazing ex-wife for sure, because the relationship that we all had was wonderful, because my stepson called her obviously right after the ambulance
Yeah.
left and left a very weird message. She didn't answer it. She didn't talk to him on the phone. He stopped answering the phone because
Mhm.
obviously, everything that he had just went through, he probably didn't know how to talk to her. She called
Yeah.
me. I told her right away what was happening. She got up, came to my house immediately, and was there basically for 3 days to help
Wow.
with my children. and
Wow.
of course her son was there, and she didn't want to take her son home
Yeah.
because she knew that her son was my kid's support,
Yeah.
right? Like she
Amazing.
she recognized that. And just, yeah, just an incredible,
That's
just there's, you hear horror stories of people that get divorced, and
yeah, totally.
the bitterness that happens and all that, but I can't say anything more kind about her
Wow.
than what she did, and how she really just helped out and just was there
That's awesome.
through all of it, for those three days in the
Mhm.
hospital, that because I was there, like
Of
I came
course.
home a little bit, but I wasn't willing to, I slept there. I
Yeah.
did not sleep there. I wasn't, as long as he was alive, I was
Mhm.
sleeping there.
Yeah.
I came home to see
Absolutely.
my kids, yes, but as long as he was still breathing, I was there every night. And the doctors knew that that's how it
Mhm.
was going to be until he was gone.
Yeah.
Especially as the days progressed, and we knew what was potentially going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But that night, I talked to my stepson, and he's about to go to college, right? So
Mhm.
again, this happened in July, and college starts in August.
Oh God, yeah.
And I've heard so many horror stories of kids just,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they watch us and they learn from us, and they
Mhm.
learn how to be and how to keep going. And I told my stepson that night, I said, look, no matter what happens, it's not looking good. I was very
Yeah.
honest with him. I told him what it looked like. He's like, be truthful. And I said, if you want me to be truthful, it's not, it's a slim.
Mhm.
It's his eyes have not dilated all day.
Wow.
There's no brain activity, and there's no reception happening whatsoever. I said, if you want me to, he said, that is because he'd asked me in the afternoon if his eyes were dilating, so he's smart enough to
Oh
know that.
wow.
But I ignored the question and said, I got to call you back later, because I hadn't talked to his mother yet, and I wanted to make sure
Oh
me and her were
yeah.
on the same page about what I tell him, because I wasn't going to tell my kids just yet because they were
Right.
far too young. Their
Right.
brains couldn't process, right? Like I needed to know that that was the final end before
Mhm.
I told a 10 and 8-year-old. But him
Yeah.
being an 18-year-old, he's an adult, and I really wanted to be respectful of him
Yeah.
knowing what was happening, if that's what needed to happen. So,
Yeah. Makes sense.
I said, look, at the end of the day, you're going to college in a month. No matter
Mhm.
what happens these next 3 days, do not forget that, because your father would hate for this to ruin your life,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? And I knew that of him. I talked to Gabe about death quite a few times.
Oh
Gabe,
wow.
you know, if he was rich, you would think that he made a deal with the devil, because he was, I'm not kidding, convinced he was going to die before the age of 50.
Really?
Told me many times, including the first night we met, I'll die
Wow.
before I'm 50. And there
Wow.
was no reason. I mean, yes, he had COPD, he had some heart issues, but his mom died semi young, but not that young, right? He was 46 years old. His mom was in her 60s. She died of cancer 2 years earlier, late 60s, I think. And then his father was technically still alive before he passed. And his father was, I think, late 60s, early 70s.
Okay. So it's not like, somebody has a history of everybody, all the men die.
Nobody in from what I understand, there is no young deaths of heart in
So
that family.
interesting. He just felt it.
He just knew it. And I mean, he cried to me 2 months before. In the middle of the night, he was crying. He said, I don't want to die early. I mean, that's how much, like, you're like, that's why I joking, did he make a deal with the devil? Because how did he
Yeah.
know? Like, how did he
Oh.
know?
Yeah.
A month beforehand, we were looking at houses. He told
Mhm.
me to stop looking, right?
What?
We went, so what happened was, we love our house, right? We bought our house about 5 years ago, beautiful house, perfect on the inside.
Mhm.
He wants chickens, and it's a
Uh-huh.
subdivision, right? And he
Yeah.
always wanted chickens. And I always wanted a pool.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, I want to know where we're going to be if I'm going to build, because I want to build a pool. I don't want to build it in the house that our kids aren't going to high school in. I
Right.
want it to be in our house that's through high school.
Hmm.
So if we're going to move, let's go find another place. So I started looking around and I found one place that had a pool already, had 2.5 acres, so you could have chickens.
Could have chickens. Hmm.
Yeah, and it was literally not even a month before. He passed on, he had his first episode on July 5th. But it was like June 12th, 14th that we went and looked at this house.
Wow.
And we looked at it. We didn't like the inside. Right away, we said, nope, this isn't the right house for us. But as we were standing outside, he looked at me and said, why are you doing this? And I said, because you want chickens and I want a pool. And he's like, you want a pool that bad? And I said, yeah. He said, okay, well, think about our house, everything that I built in the backyard. And by the way, he has built me the most magical backyard possible.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a 3-tier deck. This backyard was nothing before, and now there's like 15 fruit trees. There's
Oh,
roses throughout the whole backyard. There's flowers and plants. He never bought me flowers, but he
mhm.
always planted me
Oh,
flowers. It was his
interesting.
thing, right? Like
I love
he would
that.
never like buy me loose
Yeah.
flowers because like they die. He's like,
Yeah.
instead I plant them for you. So he made me a beautiful backyard. It's still a decent sized backyard. And he's like, and he looked at me and he said, if I die tomorrow, can you take care of 2.5 acres?
Oh, wow.
I said, I mean, so I was like, that's stupid. Why are you,
Yeah.
you're not dying tomorrow. Why are you saying that? He's like, no, seriously, if I die tomorrow, can you take care of this much land?
Wow.
He's like, I bet you can barely take care of what I built you. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Probably barely could take care of what you built me. And I don't know if I could take care of 2.5 acres. I don't know
Hmm.
if I'd stay here.
And
And he
that was
said,
like three
stop.
weeks.
He said, stop. Stop looking.
Wow.
We're going to build a pool in the backyard. We went
Wow.
home that day. We picked where it's going to go. And we said, okay, this is the forever house. He's like, I don't want chickens. I said, I don't. He's like, you know how I feel. You know, I don't feel like I'm convinced I'm going to die young.
Oh my God.
And it was literally 3 weeks
3
beforehand.
weeks. Holy
But
shit.
it was opportune for us to have that conversation in so many ways because it did help me as I've moved forward, right?
Hmm.
Two big things, two major things came out of that conversation. One was I never knew how he would ever want to be laid to rest.
Hmm.
He had always jokingly told me he wanted a Viking funeral.
Yeah.
And I looked at him that evening. I said, okay, well, if we're going to have this morbid conversation, then we need to, let's talk about it a little bit more because I don't know what you want. I'm Hindu. We do, what's the word? Oh, my brain. Cremation.
Okay. I'm like, I don't know. I
I'm
don't
having
know
a
what
hard
we're
time today. No,
Okay.
sorry. We do cremation, right? So
Okay.
and while he grew up very Christian, and burials is more common there.
Buried,
So
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what you want. Do you want to be buried or do you want to be cremated? I know you want a Viking funeral, but I'll go to prison.
Yeah, I can't do
So
that.
in order for me not to go to prison, what is your second best?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I want to do cremation. He's like, I like a lot of the stuff you guys do. So something similar to that would be fine. So that's one thing I got from the conversation. But the other thing that I got from the conversation, which he said right afterwards, is he said, I expect one thing of you though. And I said, yeah, what's that? And he said, don't let our kids ever miss a minute. Not even a day.
Oh.
Don't let them cry. Don't let them, I mean, obviously they're going to cry, but try to limit their pain
Yeah.
and make them be kids
And not get lost in it.
and not get lost and not let them this ruin their life and bring them down. And it's a lot of what I do every day is I try to, the only way they'll ever do that is if I do it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
they
that's
see me doing it, then I'll, then I do it. Then they understand that it's okay. And that it's okay to move forward, and it's we can be happy and love, and still miss him,
Yeah.
but not have to be crying about it every day, not have it ruin our life.
Yeah.
Right? We have to make him proud, and continue to move forward every day.
Yeah.
So,
That was a like a magical gift from the universe.
That he told me that, absolutely, because it's what I think about every day, and it's how
Mhm.
I keep going.
Yeah,
100% is I've got to think about my kids,
yeah.
and that is what he wanted,
Hmm.
and that is what he wished for, and I'm not doing him wrong by getting up every day
Right.
and not having that widowness, sadness, crying like I can't do anything, that desperate, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like
Yeah, the
that
guilt of
stereotype that we're
Mhm.
given.
Totally. Hmm.
And I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to be that person. He married me for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a little duck that sits right there. It's a Wonder Woman duck.
Uh-huh. Oh.
Because that's what he thought of me, and he
Uh-huh.
gave me that duck, and he's like, think of this is what you are, and this is,
Mhm.
you're strong, and you will always stay strong, and you have to stay strong. And that's just
Amazing.
how I try to take every day, really.
Yeah, he's amazing. Oh my God. I love that so much. Because it is, it's so true. Like it's so, oh, you know this, but so people, you get so stuck uh in other people's expectations of you too.
Oh,
Like,
you do. You know how much guilt I've felt over,
totally.
like, since that day?
Mhm.
Like, I feel, and it's myself, right? You're your own worst enemy, and it's
Yeah.
because of the stereotypes out there. And yeah, there's probably comments or things like that that may be kind of under the breath, but you hear it, and you digest it, and it goes in your brain,
Yeah.
and you sit there and go, well, wait a minute. No, no, hold
Hmm.
on.
Yeah.
I don't need to be that person. I don't need to be Sandra Bullock who's sleeping in her bed for
Mhm.
3 months
Right.
because her husband's gone.
Right.
That's
To
not,
honor him in the proper way. Like that's not it. He
it's
wouldn't
not
want
fair to
it.
me.
It's not
It's not
fair.
fair to my children.
Exactly.
And it's not
Exactly.
fair to him
Not fair to
either. And it's not fair
him.
to
Mhm.
his memory
Yeah.
for us to do that. Because
Agreed.
that is the last thing that that man would have
Mhm.
ever wanted from us.
And none of them would. None of them would. But
No.
there are such. I mean, I remember this. Over the course of John's illness, all the things were happening. It was COVID. I was going through menopause, and just really full focus was on his health. And I lost my own health in it, and I was drinking a whole lot of wine. So I gained so much weight, and then when he died, and I finally came to a place where I was, like ready to take care of myself again. I had a conversation in my own head about this because I was like, oh my God, because it was a couple months after he died. If I start losing weight, people are going to automatically assume I'm getting ready to date. And I don't want them thinking that about me. So I literally purposely didn't lose weight so that other people wouldn't think I'm ready. It's so stupid.
Oh, it
It's
is.
so dumb.
Mine's makeup,
Yeah.
right? Like I
Uh-huh.
did not wear a lot of makeup with him because he didn't care
Uh-huh.
when I had makeup. He loved me being naturally
Yeah.
the way I am. I now have been. Side note: I lost my job a week before he
Mhm.
died,
Um,
so now I'm
mhm.
getting into having to look for a job again. And so I keep wearing makeup and I keep thinking to myself, oh, what is somebody going to say if they see me with
Yeah.
makeup? Because they're going to think I'm trying to like impress or
Look
whatever. And
look
it's really
better. Yeah.
not. It's just,
I know.
or I am, but for a completely different
Right.
reason,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, no, no.
I
You
know.
are your own worst enemy in this whole
Totally.
thing of it, right? The amount of times I've had to talk myself down and be like, no, hold
Mhm.
on. That's not fair to you. That's
Yeah.
not fair to your kids. Stop it. You are better than this, and you
Mhm.
can move on from this. And moving on doesn't reduce the amount of
Right.
love I had for him,
Right.
and it doesn't reduce the respect I had for him, and doesn't reduce the fact that he was my best friend and I don't have
Yeah.
one now.
Doesn't mean
Uh,
you miss him any less. Doesn't mean you wish things were different. It's just
it's life,
doing
and you have to move
yeah,
forward.
what you need to do for yourself to live a full, happy, purposeful life,
Hmm.
and to set the example for your kids so that they can also do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. I love that. Um, well, okay, we talked about this, and this is something that I mentioned at the beginning that was mind-blowing to me because you did lose your job a week before. And I remember you told me that, you didn't know your husband's going to die. It's not like he was ill, so you're, casting the net and putting things out there to to get another job. And I know you said you said that you kind of backburnered that for, obviously you needed to take care of your kids and heal and get all the business of death taken care of. And when you started getting back out there to network and look for a job to continue your career. Tell us what happened with that, because I just find this so fucking mind blowing in so many ways
Yeah.
that it's shocking to me. So,
Yeah.
well,
So
talk about it.
my career, I'm a leader, right? Like I am now at the VP level, director level, and I run teams.
Mm-hmm.
So for some reason, not for some reason, I mean, I don't see it, right? Like I can't say that I get where they're coming from, but I definitely, they don't know me. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
what the key is, right? And a lot of people tend to think you're broken
Uh-huh.
once you lose somebody, right? Especially your husband. They just automatically think that the strength is gone, the power is gone, the resilience is gone, which are three very key important things to any real leader.
Yeah.
And so I have to tippy toe now around the subject of losing my husband as I'm interviewing, because if I bring it up, I all of a sudden don't hear from them again. And it is a fact of life, and it sucks in a way, because it genuinely has made me who I am, even more so now than before. And I'm stronger for it. And
Right.
it's sad that they don't necessarily realize that yes, some people can get broken by going through this, but other people can pick up and figure out how to build strength off of it. And that is exactly what I'm doing, right? Like,
Yeah.
even though I'm not working right now, and I still haven't worked, I mean, it's been a little over 7 months now, since both activities have happened. I did interview a bunch in the beginning because I had started looking for a job, but I realized right away it was too soon, right? Like I needed to spend time with my kids
Yeah.
and stuff and stuff. But now that I'm getting back into it, there is, like, the advice you get from other executives. Oh, don't tell them. Don't
Mhm.
let them know. And it's like it's sad in a way,
Yeah.
because it's like, well, if they know, then that means I'm all of a sudden no longer up for the job.
Right. So you have to not that being a widow becomes your identity, but it does become part of who you are, right? It's just like a mom. Just because
I'm
your
a
kids
single mom,
yeah,
right? Because
your
I'm a
kids
widow.
grow up, yeah, your kids grow up and you're not mothering on a 24/7 basis. You're still a mother, you know?
Right.
And you're still and so that's part of who you are. And you said something to me um the other day that I was like, yeah, damn straight, because you were like, you said people think you're weak or you're fragile or you're whatever. And you're like, try telling your two young children that their dad died. That's the
Yeah.
strongest thing you ever have to do in your life. And those
Yeah.
people who are interviewing you thinking, oh, she's too fragile or weak to
No,
for
no, the
me.
hardest
Oh my
conversation I've
God.
ever
Mhm.
I've reprimanded employees, I put employees
Mhm.
on pips, I've done so many different things. I've had to tell other leaders to suck it if
Yeah.
their folks weren't treating my team properly. I've had a lot of conversations like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, the hardest conversation was sitting down a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old and explaining to them, while their father is technically alive in the hospital, he's gone,
Right.
or that he is likely gone. Because what happened, it was the day before. Again, he was in the hospital for 3 days, and it was the second day when everything was basically the writings on the
Right.
wall. All I need to do is an MRI to really
Mm.
verify that the brain is gone.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I decided to sit down my kids and tell them, because if it was going to happen, I was going to make it happen fast. And
Mhm.
that is just for the betterment of my children.
Right.
And it long run, it turned out it was good that I did it fast, because he ended up being an organ donor,
Oh,
and he saved 3 lives because I didn't sit
yeah.
on my hands.
Yeah.
But I also didn't sit on my hands because I had two children to worry about, and I knew exactly what was happening with the brain, or not
Yeah.
exactly, but I understood
Yeah, you
enough
understood enough
about the
about what was
brain.
going on. Mhm.
Yeah, so I sat them down, and it was the day before, and I told them, I said, this is what's happening. These are the tests that they've done. Like, I tried to explain to what was a 9-year-old and 7-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
And by the way, that 7-year-old, a month prior, had brought a dead bird into the house, thinking she could bring it back to life.
Oh, wow.
so that was her mental, right? Her mental
Where she was.
understanding. And even though they lost my father a year before, a
Yeah,
year is a long time to a 6 or 7 year old in
totally.
terms of brain and how much they're going to grow and comprehend and what life is and what death is. And a month before, she brought in that bird, and I sat them down and I had to explain to them that what likely was
Mhm.
happening. And it wasn't even, he was still alive, he was still in the hospital. We hadn't done the MRI. We were going to do the MRI the next morning, and if the MRI showed what we thought, we were going to say goodbye to him that afternoon.
Mhm.
So I prepped them,
God.
or I told them what was going to happen because I wanted them to have a little bit of hope, but at the same point, I was very, very clear about the likelihood of what was going to happen.
Well, yeah, and it's like also I'm thinking it's a little bit of hope, but also a little bit of time to prepare themselves because I mean, not that you can prepare, but you know what I mean? Just like process a little bit before they're going in to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Because they did go in to say goodbye, right? Like they both
Yeah.
walked into the room. Um, with my father, I gave him the choice. With their father, I did not.
Yeah, that's smart.
I knew that they would regret it because my youngest was the one I was worried about. I knew my older boy was going to go no
Mhm.
matter what because he went for my father.
Okay.
And saw him before they said goodbye to him. But with my youngest, she didn't go with my father. And she is, a lot more shy and a little bit more
Mhm.
timid. But I knew that, or I felt that she would potentially be mad at me later on in her life if I didn't say, no, you need to say goodbye to your dad.
Yeah, just for the closure and just to,
Just for the closer.
yeah.
So yeah, I had that conversation, hardest conversation, an hour of them asking questions. Oh, well, what if this happens? Oh, well, what if this happens? Oh, well, what, and the what ifs a child can dream up
Yeah,
of, oh, well, what if the brain comes back, and having to explain that once oxygen is gone from it
right.
and what it does to it, it's tissue that can never be rebuilt.
Hmm.
It's not like our heart. It's not like those other areas in our
Yeah,
body, and it is the one that once it's eaten,
yeah.
it's gone.
Hmm.
And just having them try to understand that in a calm way, in a communicative way for them to really comprehend, right? Like definitely the hardest
No kidding.
conversation I've had.
Yeah. Hardest conversation. And then also parenting as a new single parent while also handling the business of death, while also suffering your own loss, you're going through your own grieving process. I mean, you can't come up with a harder situation for that. So the people who are like widows are fragile and weak, and we got to be
They're
careful.
not.
That's why people don't talk about our, that's why I started this friggin' podcast, is because people stop even talking about them because they're afraid you're going to have a meltdown or you're not going to be able to
Right?
handle it or whatever. It's so
And just like people
crazy.
not wanting to even talk to you about your husband, it's
Yep.
just like, come on,
Yep.
he was here. I'm not going to break down and cry. Like
Yeah.
it's okay. It's good to have joy and
Yeah.
remember him. It's good
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Keep his memory alive. It doesn't have to be
Exactly.
sad all the time.
It's that was like the biggest thing to me when I would obviously at the beginning everybody's sharing stories and doing whatever, but then it's like nobody even acknowledges that they even lived. And I just found that so weird. I was
It
like, this
is.
is weird. And I remember a friend of mine, probably I don't know, like a year, maybe a year and a half after John died, coming up and John was a great guy. Everybody loved him, but he could be an asshole sometimes. And they came up and told me this story about one time that he was just a jackass, and just did something and it was hilarious. And I literally was like, thank you so much for that. Because
Yeah.
you're not only talking about him, but you're talking about the real him. We're not all perfect all the time. We can
Yeah.
all be assholes. So I was just like, that was like one of my most treasured memories after he died, that they took the time to say this to me. That was like a funny at a party, we're just telling like out of the blue story that I was just like, that is freaking awesome. And I appreciated it so much because to
Hmm.
me, that's the real him. I'm an asshole
Yeah.
sometimes, I hope people tell my asshole stories when I die. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I mean, truly, that's the main thing that started this podcast, is just a place to talk about them and all of who they actually really were and are to us still. And that's it, it's amazing. But I
Yeah, I
love,
mean, I play poker 2 to 3 times a week, and
Mhm.
Gabe did too. Like we played with this steady group of people, a lot of people we know, and yeah, I hear it all the time. Like I see it all the time. A handful of them know that you can still talk about him, but
Yeah,
God, the rest just tippy toe.
yeah,
And it's like, yo, you knew him too. It's okay. It's
yeah.
okay. I'm not gonna all of a sudden fall over and start crying my eyes out. Maybe my eyes might get a little teared up, but
Yeah,
there's joy in
that's
that
okay
tears
too, though.
too. Like
It's also
there's
fine.
yeah, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And I wonder if people are scared of it because it's mortality. And now they're
It
talking
is.
about something that everyone is scared of because we all are gonna go someday.
Yes, and
And it's hard.
they're very uncomfortable with death, which is weird because it happens to all of us. But
Yep.
people are so weirdly uncomfortable with it, and they just act weird about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's all weird, but I love that. I love too, and I will get into more of the stuff that you've talked about with just this stupid stereotypical image of what widowhood looks like. First of all, people think that you're 85, 90 years old, and we're all that old. So to see people that are younger is like, what? That doesn't make sense. So they can't process that, and they keep holding on to that antiquated view of who we are, right?
Hmm.
But and then I just can't. It still blows my mind that people, as soon as they hear that you're a widow and you have to hide that part of you to have a shot at having a job, is insane. But I love what you've done with. I love talking about your growth through grief, and how the death of someone that is so important to you changed you. This didn't I don't think it actually changed you. I think it gave you realization. You were talking to me about Gabe's celebration of life and the people who showed up. So share with us about that, because you had some surprises, the people who drove forever, who you didn't even know that well. And then I
Yeah.
think it's just awesome for you to really, I love that you thought about why they were there, and how they showed up and why it mattered, and what you've done with that information of really just true self-reflection of like how these people, their presence has kind of charted a new course for you in
Yeah,
your
in some
life.
ways, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, like I mentioned, right? I lost my
Mhm.
job one
Mhm.
week to the day
Same.
before he died. Well, basically, it was Saturday morning, Friday
Mhm.
night, and I had a couple weeks that I was supposed to be working for the company, and my whole team knew, and it wasn't a bad thing. It's not like I got fired or anything. It was just a leadership reduction that they had to do. But you go through a lot of guilt when you sit there and you have your husband dying in the hospital, and your brain sits there and goes, oh, well, shit, what happens now? You just went from two incomes to zero. You've
The
got two and a half
stress of
kids.
that had to be
You,
just mind
you've got
boggling.
a stepson who's about to go to college, which we already said we're paying for half of it. You've got two kids that are very young,
Hmm.
and it's guilt. There's a lot of guilt there, right? Like you don't want to think about work, but
Hmm.
what do, right? You're like, I
You
don't know
have
what
to start.
tomorrow is.
Yeah.
All I know is I've got two kids, a house, and a husband that told me to make sure that I do not let do anything less for them than they already had, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? So, a lot of sadness or whatnot that was happening, a lot of confusion, a lot of scaredness. I did 2 interviews right away when I probably shouldn't have, because I was already in the process prior to him passing. But yeah, the day of his funeral, I showed up. I pulled up to his funeral, and there was it was not like I was late or anything,
Hmm.
but there was one person, maybe two or three in the parking lot, right? One in particular, though, that as I was pulling in, I saw, and it was a lady I managed over 15 years ago on a team for AT&T.
Wow.
She didn't know Gabe. I think we had just started dating, maybe at that time. No, I don't even know if we were dating yet. But she didn't even know him, nothing, right? And she showed up. She showed up because of me, and she showed up there to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't talked to this lady since I managed her, really. Maybe a couple times, but definitely not in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first person I saw. And at that moment, I was like, okay. I was like, maybe I don't need to worry about work, right? It was just the path of my brain going,
Yeah.
you don't need to worry about this so much. And then as that afternoon progressed, the sheer amount of people that were there from my career.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, we had a company together, totally expecting to see Ringer folks.
Yeah.
Ringer was the name of our company.
Okay.
Absolutely expecting to see Ringer folks. But to see all the people that I managed before and after Ringer was just absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I had, again, that was somebody, my first team I ever managed, she was there. And then every team I managed, like every team that I had at least one person there
That's crazy.
supporting me. At least one person. And then the amount of people that were there from my last position where everyone knew I wasn't there anymore. I had been laid off. I had a team member drive all the way from Florida, Orlando, or no, Miami, I think. Yeah, Miami. She lives in Miami. She drove all the way from Miami up to the funeral to be there for me. I had a couple other people fly in. Not to discount Gabe and all the love he had. He had a lot of love there.
Mm-hmm.
The room was definitely easily over 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say 20% of it were people that showed up for me that I had managed or worked with.
That's crazy.
That may or may not have known him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just, it was then I realized, you know what? Forget about work. Forget about it, right? Like, work will happen. You are good at your job. You are good at what you do. You just got to figure out the place. And at that time, I didn't realize the market was as a little bit hard as it's kind of come over the last 6 months. But I said, you know what? You know what you're doing, because there's no way people would show up for
That's
you
right.
if I wasn't a leader that they felt that they wanted to reciprocate that compassion or whatever you want to call
Totally.
it.
Like
Right?
if you were an asshole, they're not showing up. They're not driving that far. They're not buying plane tickets. Nothing.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It speaks volumes. It really truly does. It speaks volumes to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So you made
And
that
I didn't want it to let it break me either, right? Like, I'm not letting this and this and this and all these things that are happening in the span of a week break me. I'm not going to do it. I mean, I went and got my scuba diving license 2 weeks after he died.
That's insane.
2 weeks. Why? Because I had already done 90% of it. I had one dive left to go. That one dive I was supposed to do with his son, my stepson, who is also a diver, is already a diver. I was supposed to go to a quarry with him. It was supposed to be just a quick little one-day dive so I could get my full scuba open water diver certification and all that. And I had worked on it a couple months before, and I knew if I didn't go then, I didn't know when I would go, and then I may have to redo everything. I'm like, okay, I need to be an example to my stepson, who's about to go to college. I need to be an example to my kids. And they all knew I was supposed to go do it. And originally I told my stepson, no, we're going to cancel it. But then as the days progressed, I said, that's not what he would want. Would he want this? No. Right. Would he expect this of me? No. He would be pissed off at me if I didn't do this to really show them that you have to move forward and you have to keep continuing.
Yeah. Well, and it's also a lesson in follow through and commitment and, just fulfilling your own goals, That was
and resilience, right? That
resilience.
I may be a widow, but I'm not broken, right? Like I'm not broken. And to, in a way, in a way I did it for myself too, to be like, I'm not going to be that person. I am going to be somebody that can get up and move forward. and all of that. And you know, I've seen a lot of people even in my own family who have lost their spouse and
Mhm.
are still broken years later. And I won't be that person, because if I am, what does that do to the kids?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's not setting them up for any future resilience of their own or any kind of bounce back, it's resilience and bounce back is the same thing. But yeah, just like how to handle obstacles and challenges because we all get them your whole
Yep.
life. Got to figure out how to navigate life once you have them.
Yep.
Um, so, what did you, upon reflection, I love what you've done and what you have planned for your future. You're interviewing, you're still doing the whole thing, but I love that you're creating something for yourself uh, at the same time.
Yeah, so you know, again, that funeral, as I took it back later on and I reflected upon it, and I was like just so flabbergasted as I thought about how many people showed up. And then when I looked at the sign-in book and I saw some of the names that maybe I didn't see in face, but I saw that they were there, and I was like, holy cow, these people were there. And why are people showing up for me who didn't know my husband but knew me, and they knew me from work? What is it that I do, right? And so, you know, a couple other things took place as well. And while I've been like, okay, I'm not working now I got to find something to do or grow or expand upon. And again, remember, I managed my husband. I worked with him
Right,
too.
right.
I sat there and said, well, what brings people to support a leader like that? How am I
Mhm.
leading in my life in terms of being a leader in the workplace, right? And what is it that I do? And I started reflecting upon that to be like, well, you know, let's think about this more, right? Let's build something here, and let's see what it is that gets somebody to show up 500, whatever, how many 100 miles away, and come and see me, or somebody else that I haven't talked to in over 10 years. And because they happen to be, it was another person that was linked to my Facebook. She wasn't even linked to my Facebook because I
Wow.
didn't post any of this on my LinkedIn. I posted this on my Facebook about when the
Mhm.
funeral would be. I didn't call a lot of people. You know, you were very much in the headspace of I'm in my own world with my kids and that's it. But I didn't call a lot of people, nothing. But what brings those people to show up for
Mhm.
you? And it has to be something I'm doing as a leader,
Right.
and a way I lead my folks, and lead my teams. And so I started building something. Since I'm not working, I'm like, okay, well, let's keep our time busy and let's reflect upon that. What makes me a good leader? And so I ended up building something called my authentic leadership engine,
Mhm.
which I'm hoping to turn into a book sooner or later, and stories, because again, I've got leaders that, I'm sorry, if their spouse passed, I don't know if I would show up,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
And the fact that these guys did, something resonated
Mhm.
so deeply with them for them to come and say, no, I'm going to be there for her on my Saturday off. You
Mhm.
know, my Saturday is a Saturday afternoon. It's not like, you know,
Right.
people got things to do, they've got families, whatever, but I'm going to show up there to be supportive and to help support her through what she's going through, her hardest time of her life,
Mhm. Right.
obviously, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be there to support her. So yeah, I built something called an authentic leadership engine, where it's got five core pillars. So
Mhm.
there's one core pillar at the center called Be Human, which is
Mhm.
really what everything's reflected on.
Yeah.
And this is a circle diagram, and I don't know if you want me to send it to you somehow or
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah. Definitely.
You
If
know,
there's a way we can link it, I'll put it in the show notes so people
perfect.
can
Yeah.
check it out.
So there's a main pillar, and then four supporting pillars underneath it, which is lead with courage, communicate openly, protect your team, and nurture growth.
Mhm.
And then under that are behaviors that help emphasize that pillar, right? And so it's shaped like a circle, but it should be thought of as a sphere
Mhm.
because everything follows back and forth to each other, right? So,
Right.
for example, lead with courage. One of them is maintain a rock star attitude, right?
Mhm.
In the business world, maintaining a rock star attitude can be looked at as arrogant or not in the best of light. But
Mhm.
if you look at it in the sphere, it's different because being human is at your center core.
Uh-huh.
Your rock star attitude is because you are optimistic,
Mhm.
you are positive, you are driving with enforcement with your team,
Mhm.
but you're human at the same point. So you're not, I'm, an arrogant a-hole
God.
who,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not God. But
Yeah.
the rock star attitude is I'm positive, I'm optimistic, I am all of those things that a lot of times a rock star would quote unquote have, but
Right.
I have to be human at the same point, right? So it's a sphere. But yeah, it's I've built this out with all these behaviors, and now I keep emphasizing that. And again, going towards my growth and all that, I don't have a job. I do need to figure that out
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. I'm not too worried, but I'll get there, right?
Yeah.
And at the same point, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to do this to better myself and grow
Mhm.
myself. And so taking this and, like I said, building a book upon it and building some other things. I'm actually about to start building an assessment measure that if a company was to develop this and say, I want my leaders to lead
Mhm.
with this mentality or this thought process, how do I know they are? Building that assessment tool, which I'm going to be using AI a lot for
Yep.
that, and,
Yep.
and diving into that world a lot of building that out.
Mhm.
But building out that and just building something more as I continue to wait and until I find that right role that's right for me next, and playing the game of how do I interview. I mean, I
Right.
still fight that every day of, do I bring him up? Do I not bring him up?
Mhm.
Has it been long enough to where they don't think I'm broken, or has it not? Again, they
Yeah.
think you break, and it's
Mhm.
like you don't have to be broken. You very much can grow and be strong, but
Yeah.
at the same point still have had a lot of love for that person.
Yeah, well, and so much of that, so much looping it back into your sphere, the core of just be human, just be a good human. There's so much of that loops into all of the things. Being a good human is a good employee, being a good leader. It's so interesting because the world obviously needs great leaders and great leadership, and so few people are naturally born leaders, but it's one of those things in life that can be taught. It really truly can be. And if you can be the person that learns how to be a really strong leader, you elevate in life, because it's such a needed position across the board of everything.
Yep.
So I told you this when you were first telling me about this, but I can totally see you like teaching workshops and just going into companies and really like sitting down with leadership and just helping everybody just become better at what they do, because they have a great attitude, because they're coming from a place of compassion, and it's not just like out for themselves. Like
Yeah.
so many people think being a good leader is like telling people what to do and do it my way or
It's
the highway,
not.
or whatever. It's not. It's like
No.
being a good
No.
listener, being a good feeler, like feeling where people are and really knowing how to lead them in a way that is set with the best intentions, with the best end game in mind, not just my way, not
Yep.
my way or the highway. So, it's such a valuable thing for people to know how to do, and it's so needed
It
across
is. It
every.
is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, leadership has changed over the years, right? I mean,
Oh
in the
my.
last 100 years, we went from a leadership mentality of whip and chain
Yes.
to now being open and being like, hold on a second, we all have lives outside of work. We
Yeah.
all have to maintain that. And that's all going to come inside, no matter how hard you try,
Hmm.
which, that's probably why people are a little nervous,
Right.
right? Is that it does come in. But if you know how to control yourself and you know the people you're working with, you know how to work with them correctly,
Yes.
you know how to guide them, and you know how to make them stronger for it,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Love it.
going back to your listening and learning and understanding, right? it's all of that,
Yeah,
right? So
1000%. 1000%. I love it. I love it so much. I love the look of it. So definitely I want to link that into the show notes, and anybody who's curious about it, and I'll put your contact information too if you're good with that, and so
yeah,
people can reach
absolutely.
out. Um, so I have a couple more things before we wrap up. First of all, anyone listening, what would be your ideal job? What are you looking for? Pitch yourself right now. Give a little
Oh,
pitch.
me? So
Yeah.
I'm a revenue operations leader.
Okay.
It's what I've been doing for a long time. I morphed from finance into revenue
Mhm.
operations, which basically is running your revenue engine from nuts to bolts. And again, this is in I'm specialized in the SaaS world and the professional services world, where I have a lot of a specialty. But I do everything from pricing to deals desk to order management,
Okay.
to system integration and system design and architecture. Just running that whole, it's called lead to cash cycle,
Okay.
in an organization.
All
So,
right. All right. Well, good. Well, anybody out there needs
yeah,
somebody amazing, you'll know how to reach her.
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. And then I wanted to see, did you bring a picture of Gabe to show us, or do you have one handy that you wanted to show?
Oh, I can go grab one if you
Maybe
want to
bring
give me two
it.
seconds.
Yeah,
Oh, I
go.
forgot to grab it. It is
Yep.
right there. My
Cool.
kids and I made one just this
Oh,
weekend,
yeah.
and it's great. So if
Grab
I
it.
can,
Yeah. Yeah. Grab it.
yes.
Perfect. I love it. We'll just have a little moment. We didn't go anywhere. I'm just filling time.
All right, sorry about that.
That's
So
okay.
this weekend, I took my kids to something called Kate's Club.
Okay.
Kate's Club is an organization that's designed for children under the age of 18 who have either lost a parent or a sibling or somebody that's in the everyday home.
Okay.
And they did this camp workshop where we went for a weekend, and in that we made this memoir of my husband,
Oh, I love
where
it.
it shows them, and you can see, like, you can see further
Mhm.
back, it's got a lot of stickers and things that they
Awesome.
remember. My
Mhm.
daughter put the meat because he likes food. But you can see a little bit up close, right?
Mhm.
That there's a picture of me and him at our
I
wedding.
love this.
This top one here is of him and my youngest daughter,
Mhm.
and then the bottom one is with him, and that's Logan, his older son, and then that's Neil, our son
Oh,
together.
I love it. Oh, thank you for sharing. I love to have a little face that goes along with our stories, so that's good. So,
Yeah.
if you're listening, you have to go look at YouTube and go watch it too. But okay, so I wanted to have that, and then advice to, let's do advice to potential employers who might be interviewing widows. What would you say to them? What are some thoughts you have on that? We've covered a little bit, but I mean, it is important to think about and just to add perspective, because, if,
Yeah.
especially those who haven't lost someone close to them, like what would be your advice to them?
That you don't discount that they're not a warrior,
Mhm.
because going through this is the hardest thing I've ever done,
Mhm.
and all it's done is made me stronger and better and everything, right? It's all you can take from it,
Yeah.
and that it shouldn't be taken negatively. It shouldn't at all.
Mhm.
I think that if you have somebody showing up that is showing that they have the presence and the capabilities, then you likely are talking to someone that really knows how to handle things, and they've probably, like me, have had harder conversations with the people around them than they would ever have to face in a boardroom.
Yeah, and I think that is such a good point too, because um, if you can handle what you've been through and you're showing up with a smile on your face and a good attitude, and you want to get out there and do your best, then when the inevitable challenge comes in your job,
Yep.
you will obviously know how to manage it well, because you've managed something way bigger than whatever comes your way in the work field. So that
Exactly.
should be a super bonus point. for a
It
potential.
should, right? You would
Yeah,
think, but it's not.
I
It's,
know. It's so crazy. Well,
yeah.
I'm glad you said that because hopefully future employers will be listening and keep that in mind when they're potentially not just a widow, but anyone who's lost someone
Yeah.
that, is part of what they've gone through.
We all lose people, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a
everybody
fact
loses
of life.
somebody. Yeah, it's just again weird. People are uncomfortable with it and make assumptions about what that means for that person, which is ignorant, quite frankly. It's ignorant, ignorant. And then I just want to give you the chance to any final thoughts or something we didn't touch on that you wish we had done, or anything you want to say before we wrap up.
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think we hit a lot of
We did.
who he was, and yeah, he was a great guy, though. I'll tell you that. Amazing.
I love it. I love it. You can tell he was. He just obviously was thoughtful and I think that again that was such a gift from him and the universe or whatever made him have that realization about himself, just to be able to have even your last conversation about what he wanted to do with once he was dead. I mean, that's just it's a gift.
Yeah, very
And to
timely
use it for,
again.
yeah,
Oddly
that's
timely.
insane. But also it's the permission he gave for you to be and live a happy life and to show your kids how to do the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a gift. That's a
Yeah,
gift.
absolutely. I mean, it is what I think about all the time when I start
Mhm.
like that battle in your brain, right? We all do it. That battle in your brain where you start going, "Oh, I don't want to get up," or "I don't want to
Yeah.
do anything," or "I'm sad," or this or
Mhm.
that. It's no, you better remember what he told you.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to live by every day.
Hmm.
And who cares if somebody looks at you
Right.
weirdly and they think that you didn't love him or whatever? Because I feel that sometimes
Oh,
too.
for sure.
That the
You're
fact that
out
I
in
am
public
as strong as I
happy and
am,
laughing. Yep.
yeah, it's like, oh, just because I keep showing up again, right?
Hmm.
Like, hold on, that does not discount who I
Doesn't discount it.
loved, right? Like,
Right.
there is no, absolutely no, amount of, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just the love was there.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything except for I have children and I have
Hmm.
to do what's right for them, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna do what he would have
Yeah.
expected me to do.
And he died.
And he
You
died.
didn't die.
Yeah, that's
So
very true.
you shouldn't feel like you have to live your life as though you did.
Right.
And yeah, I think people forget that. I think people forget that.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love this conversation so much, and it's so important, and it's so. I mean, it's important to have a place to share your story and Gabe's story, but also just to wake people up to some prejudices that are out there that people don't necessarily think about. I know I hadn't considered it until you shared your story with me, and I was like, holy shit, we need to talk about this, because that is fucking annoying that is something that you even have to deal with, which means a lot of women and other people, not just widows, have to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's important. It's important. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for
It's
sharing.
not okay either. It's like, why do you don't need to be making these
Complete
type of
bullshit.
decisions just
Yeah.
because, like, to
Yeah.
tippy toe around it just
Yeah.
because of what somebody else might think. It sucks. Yeah, it's
Yeah. When really, as we said, they're missing out on a badass, super strong woman who could run the show like nobody's business. So get your shit
yeah.
together, people.
Yeah, exactly. I won't disargue that because I know I could run it
I
easily.
know. I know.
Yes.
So crazy. But okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening. Obviously share this with anybody who can feel it, and just spread it far and wide, because these are real things that nobody thinks about. That situation is real, and awareness, knowledge is power. Awareness helps. And yeah, it's a big deal. So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you. I
on.
really
Spend
it's
time
it's
with me.
it's always
Yeah,
good to talk, right? Because that also is part of the healing process, is being
for
able
sure.
to go through it and
Yeah.
and to remember, and yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing me on.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. And I appreciate everybody listening. Protect yourself, protect your heart, and just do good. Be a good human. That's the core of everything, as you said.
Be a good human. Yep.
Yep.
Be
All
human.
right. All right. Thank y'all so much. Have a good day.